Welcome to it has been a long time, Luke Kuechly, since I have seen you last. 5-time first team All-Pro, future Hall of Famer, Panthers radio analyst, smartest man in football. How you been?
I am good. How's your summer been?
Pretty good. I'm in Chicago. I threw
Yeah.
the first pitch. It was awful, but I'm not an athlete, so there were no expectations unless you were related to me. I think your summer's been crazy. What is it like, Luke, to have two movies about you come out this month? Superman movie and Superman, the Inside Story of the 2015 Carolina Panthers.
The 2015 one I think is going to be really cool. It's obviously the 10-year anniversary of that team, and that was one of my favorite teams that I honestly ever played on. The guys on the team obviously went to the Super Bowl. We had a great season. We didn't lose a game until Christmas, but that collection of guys was special. It kind of just all worked out. We picked up Peanut Tillman, we picked up Jared Allen, all these Hall of Famers. We had Roman Harper that came in, Kurt Coleman came in as a free agent. And it was so much fun that year, and watching guys like Mike Tolbert right here and this play that everyone's watching. This was in the NFC Championship game at home, and the place erupted when Cam jumped over and scored. There are so many memories, and when all the guys get together, we talk about the plane flights, the bus rides, the time in the locker room, the fun we had at training camp. It's amazing. I think if you'd ask any guy that's played the game for a long time, they talk less about the plays they made and more the times they had together with their buddies. And I don't care what you do when you're done playing the game, you don't get those opportunities back.
I love that the Charlotte Observer did this. It's an online series. The first part of it comes out today. The doc premieres later this month, and I do believe we have a little taste of the trailer. Take a look, everybody.
Well, if it's your end zone, then why am I in it?
It was something stupid. It was small. It was fun, but to us, it was a big
It's
deal.
one of those things we like, damn, this is different.
I think he pointed at Cam, and then it was game on.
I can't wait to see this. This is amazing. And by the way, all proceeds from this Charlotte Observer event that you'll be at the premiere for will be donated to Veterans Bridge Home. It's a charity supported by Ron Rivera, of course. What are you most looking forward to? Like when you see this, when you think about what that time in your life was, where does your head go?
I think the opportunity to be back with those guys. I know Ron is going to be up there on stage. I'm going to get up there and talk a little bit. JJ Jansen, our long snapper, will be up there. And I think for us, it's more an opportunity to reminisce and think back about how fun it was. Because that season, from the beginning of the season till the end of the season, there's always something fun going on. From everybody wants to talk about the training camp fight with Josh and Cam, where they went at it. And I remember as the season progressed, it was week 3 or 4, we picked up Jared Allen, which for me was a huge deal because he was a guy that I grew up watching in Kansas City and Minnesota. And all I could wait for was I wanted him to get a sack so he could do that sack dance. There's not many guys whose sack dance I think is awesome. That Jared Allen sack dance, I could not wait for him to get one of those. So I got to see that in person. And then just watching the season that Cam had was so special. And, a couple of the road games that we had struggled to beat Seattle in Seattle for a long time. And then we went out there and we were down in the fourth quarter, and Cam took the offense down and scored at the end of the game. And I think after that game, we were kind of like, you know what? We have an opportunity to be a really good football team. And just that whole year, there was fun stuff that was going on. Ron let us have a lot of fun. He really leaned into the fact that we had good older guys on our roster that I think he felt very comfortable not handing the team over, but allowing those guys to set direction of the team with, Thomas and Charles Johnson and, Greg and Ryan Khalil. And one guy that I don't think will ever get appreciated enough on that team was Jericho Cotchery. You look at that wide receiver room. Kelvin gets hurt in training camp. There's really not a consensus number one guy. Greg was, my whole time in Carolina, Greg was our number one receiver, even though he played tight end. But that room needed something, and I think Koch was able to give it to him just as far as
I just texted Hamilton and Chris, I love that we're getting Jericho Cotchery right now. I love Kuechly.
Koch. I don't know if you've met him before, but he's the best dude. He's competitive. He's physical. He's tough. He doesn't care who gets the recognition. All he wants to do is hang with the guys and win football games. And I think he was a great example for some guys in that room, and that were younger guys, Funch and Philly Brown, and Ted was an older guy, but he was great for Ted. It was just, they did a really good job of building that team with great people that their number one most important thing on their mind was being a good teammate and doing whatever it took to win football games.
You mentioned that somebody's pointing at Cam in that trailer. What's that story? Who's pointing at Cam?
That was Josh. That was Josh Norman. I don't remember when that was. That was when those two guys got into it a little bit during training camp. And there's the picture that everybody has with Cam with his red quarterback jersey and has Josh by the face mask or whatever. And Cam threw a touchdown and was chirping, and then Josh picked Cam off and pointed at him and was chirping, and it was hot, and it was halfway through training camp, and everybody was tired of each other, and they got into it, and everybody wanted to make a huge deal about it, but it was just two guys that were competitive and having fun. You go in the locker room afterwards, and everyone's joking about it, and I think that's just the mark of a good team is guys are relentless competitors, but at the end of the day, we're all here to have fun and win football games.
We've talked about that one moment before. I think that was like the moment that sparked the, we're going places of like, right?
I think yes and no. I think it was a big moment for, obviously our whole team, but for our defense in the sense that that was Josh's fourth year and he really popped that year. He played really well in that 2014 season, had a great year. And then going into the 2015 season, we kind of had some question marks in areas on our team. And one of them was, quite frankly, the quarterback position. We brought Peanut in that offseason as a free agent, and Josh had all the talent in the world. And for him, he had a great training camp. He made a ton of plays. And for him to have the confidence and the attitude, and for him to continue to make plays during training camp and not back down from everybody, I think we kind of knew that position. Yeah, there you go, right there. That position is not going to be an issue for us. That outside corner opposite Peanut will not be an issue. And I just look at Cam. Look at Cam. He's just bigger than everybody. That's the funny part is everyone's trying to defend Cam and help Cam because he's a quarterback, but he was one of the biggest guys on the team, and it was kind of a joke, like, hey, you know what, Cam's gonna be fine.
When I remember, the way I remember that is just the competitiveness. I think a lot of people do point to that moment being a little something, like the kind of spark that you kind of want to see that. And Cam can handle himself. It's not like you're saying. If you were to describe, how would you describe that team in one word? Like if I had said, I would probably say competitive. What would you say?
Competitive's a good word. Family gets overused. I think we're a very tight team. I think there's oftentimes, not factions, but there's groups on the team that get along better than others. This team was all about each other and all about having fun. And I think we were very tight knit. I'll give you two words: tight knit. I think very, very competitive. And I think the competitive atmosphere lent itself to great practices and competing in games. And then I think the tight knit side, obviously, the surface level of that is everyone got along with each other. But I think it goes deeper than that in the sense of it's tight knit in the sense of I think guys are super unselfish that whole year with everything. Who got the ball, who didn't get the ball, who got the sack, who didn't get the sack, who made the tackles. I think Thomas was always a great example of that. The guy just wanted to win games. And same thing with Roman and Peanut and Jared Allen and Charles Johnson, older guys that all they wanted to do was win. And I think as that team was coming together, I think these guys all understood that this team is special. And it's actually, I'm going to bring it back to Koch, Jericho Kochry. We were in 2014, we played the Arizona Cardinals at home in the playoffs. We beat them at home. It was an interesting game. It was misting rain, a little chilly. It was an awesome defensive game. And that game was ending. And I remember Koch came up to Thomas and I and said, hey, this team is really special. It's a special team for, a lot of reasons. And unfortunately, the next week went to Seattle, lost in Seattle in that was the end of the 2014 season. But a lot of that team came back and we added some really good guys. So Koch saw it at the end of that 2014 season, and it just kind of started to melt into that 15 season.
And you just beat people up after every play. Like the other word that I would probably use if I really think about it, like physical. Like y'all just really got after it and beat everyone play after play after play. You're using tight knit and family and like unselfish and all of this. What was Cam Newton's role in that?
I think Cam was ultra competitive with everything, shooting baskets at practice, first guy in. And I think his toughness was always something that there's a lot of things I loved about Cam. There's a couple things that he did that I don't think necessarily get enough credit. I don't think I ever saw Cam yell at somebody, get mad at somebody, call somebody out in a negative way. I don't think he ever blamed anybody. And I always appreciated that about him. If the snap was too high, he's like, I'll get it. If he threw a bad ball, he's like, hey, what can I do better? And in the games, he was just relentlessly competitive, and he was so tough. The toughness that Cam had was something that doesn't get talked about enough. And he didn't always need to say things, but if you just watched him and watched how he treated people and watched how he worked and watched how he would get hit and get back up and watch him run through defenders to get first downs, you kind of understood that, hey, like, toughness for us isn't negotiable. Our quarterback is running through guys' faces and getting up and doing dances and flexing and scoring touchdowns. And you kind of just said, hey, you know what? This is the standard for what this football team is about. This is our quarterback. This is what he wants. We're going to do the same thing he's doing.
It's so funny how toughness almost gets devalued when you talk about what's important with the quarterback. And there are other important things, but I got to say, just as a fan, I hear it over and over again from players, right? Like players who will run through a wall for a Matthew Stafford, a Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, the guys who, not even Baker Mayfield's not the most imposing guy. He's not exactly built like Josh Allen, but like somebody who's not afraid to set that tone of Geno Smith, like the toughness matters, I think, more than maybe I give it credit for.
Oh yeah. And toughness is about showing it. I think you can't talk about I'm tough, because guys have been around the league long enough. Guys have played sports long enough. Toughness is about showing it to me. And when you show it to guys, they also understand that, hey, I got to do it too. You think Josh Allen wants to score a touchdown on 4th and 5? You think he's going to run through 5 or 6 guys? Yeah, and you better believe that Deion Dawkins knows that, and Deion Dawkins is going to push and fight and claw to do whatever he needs to. And the same thing with Mike Evans, and just at the end of the year last year with Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield, Mike had that big incentive in his contract, and Baker made sure he got that ball. And I just think these little things from that quarterback position that go unnoticed by people don't go unnoticed by the guys in their team. Toughness is a decision that you make, and some guys are better at it than the others. And the guys that are really good, their toughness shows, and the rest of the team revolves around that.
It's not always physical, it's mental. So let's flip it to the 2025 Panthers. How tough is Bryce Young?
Okay, so with Bryce, he hasn't had the opportunity to show it like the rest of the guys, but I go back to Bryce's rookie year, right? So we'll talk about physical and kind of mental toughness. I think he got sacked 62 times. Crazy. And he got hit a heck of a lot more. And Anish, Jake, and I would sit in the booth each week and watch it happen. And all Bryce ever did was get up and run off to the sideline. And after games, he never complained about it. I don't think he ever did anything in the locker room complaining about it. Obviously, he would address the situation, but all he ever did was get back up and get back on the field. So there's your physical toughness for a guy that's, quite frankly, he's not the biggest guy out there. And then
no, it's like tougher.
You look at last year. Yeah.
It takes more guts to not be imposing and get, have these guys trying to kill you. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then last year, first play of the season, throws an interception in New Orleans. We get spanked. Then Andy comes in. Andy plays really well, wins the first game in Oakland, played great. Andy gets dinged in unfortunate car crash. Luckily, everybody was okay. And then Bryce came in, and all he did was get better as the season went on. So for me with Bryce, he's shown that he's physically tough. He's shown that when there's a little bit of adversity, he got benched. The guy didn't get hurt, nothing. He got benched. And for him to stay locked in and come back and have the second half of the season like he did, I just think shows that he's got the physical toughness he showed his rookie year. And then mentally, he's tough as well to be able to come back and have the second half of the season that he did. The signs are there. Now we just got to put the whole picture together.
Odds on FanDuel Sportsbook right now. Training camp kicks off next week. Plus 225 to make the playoffs. You're close to this team. What is a strength for this Panthers squad no one's talking about right now?
Oh, no one's talking about it. You know what? I think that we did a lot to help the offensive line last year, bringing Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, who drafted Icky in the first round, Taylor Moton's a stud. Where we struggled a lot last year was up front on the defensive line. We quite frankly were not very good. But the one thing, obviously we had a first round pick at receiver, but we get a first round pick coming back, Derek Brown, who I think obviously was banged up the whole season, hurt his knee week 1. He's obviously a fantastic football player. He's disruptive. I think he had 100 tackles in 2023, went to the Pro Bowl, signed a big extension, presence inside. I think we missed, obviously, him as a player. We missed the personality and the presence that Derek has on that team at practice, in games, on the bench during the games, on the plane to and from. There's certain guys that are really good football players, and then there's certain guys that are really good football players and great teammates and great for your organization. We miss the presence that Derek Brown had in the locker room and practice and games to bring guys along, to show the toughness, to show the attitude, to say, hey, I play defensive line, but I play almost all the snaps during the game, which is rare. We need that guy back and playing at a high level, and he looks really good right now. And then you add Tershawn Wharton and Bobby Brown, and Ashawn had a fantastic year last year. Our defensive line on paper coming into the season looks a heck of a lot better, and that's a credit to Dan and Brant and those guys for putting that all together.
I don't know if they're done yet. They might be adding some things. I know you'll be out at training camp. And I love that. If we look at sort of we zoom out a little bit outside of the Panthers, I know you're looking at not just them. You're looking at everybody. I talked about Ryan Poles, him getting a deal done, Ben Johnson, the expectations. I'm sitting here in Chicago. I left Caleb Williams for you. I didn't talk about him. What are you looking at, or what is intriguing about him over this next month?
I think the first thing that you look at with Poles and Ben Johnson is that offensive line. Caleb got hit a lot last year, bringing Thuney and Dahlman and Jonah Jackson in free agency. They got a first-round pick at one tackle. They go get a BC guy, Ozzie Trapillo, in the second round and potentially play the other tackle. And then you look at the receivers, it's all first-round picks. I mean, Luther Burden could have been a first-round pick, second-round pick, and then they get Colston Loveland to sling it around to with Cole Kmet. They are loaded on offense at the skill position with DeAndre Swift, obviously a big, heavy runner. But I think what changes for Caleb Williams that's going to be super helpful is everybody talks about how do you take care of a young quarterback, and a lot of it has to do with the passing game, right? Mm-hmm. And the amount of play action pass that Detroit used last year with Jared Goff was, top 5 in the league. And then you look on the contrary with the Bears, not a ton of play action pass from them last year. And the play action pass does a lot of things. It provides easy windows for the quarterback to throw the ball. There's easy built-in checkdowns, guys in the flat, easy completions. It takes a lot of pressure off the offensive line because instead of playing pure drop back pass where these defensive linemen can pin the ears back and rush, they're taking a play action run fake. They're moving sideways, and instead of moving vertically, they're sideways and then vertical off the play action pass. And you got to imagine that Caleb's going to be more comfortable going in to year 2. And I think one of the most difficult things as a defender is short completions and tackling guys in space. And you got 2 really good guys. One of them, Luther Burden coming out of college, a big physical receiver that's kind of built like a little bit like a running back. And then my guy, DJ Moore, that when the ball's in his hand, you never know what's going to happen. So the play action pass, the offensive line, the skill positions that they have, and Caleb going into year 2, I think they're set up pretty well, and it's probably a big reason that Ryan Poles is signed that extension, and people are talking highly about the Bears.
See, everyone but Bears fans talking highly about it. Are you listening, Chicago? I should have just if I had a megaphone that I could take somehow from my computer to the streets of Chicago right now. Get excited, be excited. It's all happening. We're taking giant steps. We're gonna take a short break. Back with Luke Kuechly. I want to go to the defensive side of the ball. I want to talk about people taking big leaps. I want to talk about if you're the godfather of a certain baby that's famous right now. We'll be back after this. We're in on these Panthers. Is there a team that you are willing to say will be the best defense in the NFL this season?
I'm from Cincinnati, and I hate to say it, but I think Pittsburgh's always tough. You know, they've got some stuff to figure out. Everybody's looking at the TJ Watt situation, and then them sending Minka down to Miami. But you look at the build of that secondary with Darius Slay and Joey Porter and Jalen Ramsey, and then you have Highsmith off the edge, and then TJ Watt on the other side, Cam Hayward on the inside. They've got some dudes, and Patrick Queen, and you guys know I love Peyton Wilson at the linebacker level. So they've got a little bit of everything. They've got a 3-level approach that I like. I think they just got to figure out, do they feel good about Juan Thornhill at safety stepping in for Minka? And then I think the TJ Watt stuff gets figured out, but that defense, I think on all 3 levels, again, is going to have a really, really good opportunity to be a dangerous team this year in the NFL.
I mean, they were second in turnovers, ranked 12th in yards allowed, 8th in points per game. I love everything you're saying. Do you think Jalen stepping in as safety for Minka?
It'd be a good question. I wonder how they'll play him. I don't know what they're going to do. It's because then they have three starters. You obviously Darius Slay, Joey Porter, and then Jalen Ramsey. Does he slide in and play the nickel position, or do they kind of rotate those guys around? But I think when you have really good players like that, you can figure out where to play them. But yeah, could they play him at safety? Absolutely. But I just like when you have a lot of DBs and a lot of talent and a lot of speed and length, you got a shot to be pretty good.
Should they? I mean, Beanie Bishop was good in that nickel spot last year too. Should they do that with Jalen?
That looks, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like that lineup right there. I think there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would say, hey, if this is our 5-man secondary, we're in pretty good shape.
I know everyone thinks the TJ deal is going to get done, probably because it should, A, and B, it's hard to imagine it not getting done. But we are hearing, from Steelers insider Mark Caboli, who we trust, that they've called around about his value, whether that's smoke and mirrors or, gamesmanship or leverage or whatever. If, hypothetically, if things were open, right? Who would you want to see swoop in? Which team to make an offer for TJ?
I mean, I would love for us to go do that. You go get an extra pass rusher. You had TJ Watt in a little black and processed blue. That's the official blue of the Carolina Panthers. I think we'd all take that, but we get some good young players. I think you kind of nailed it. I have a hard time believing that it doesn't get done. We led the NFL in forced fumbles last year at 19 TFLs. He had 11.5 sacks. And then the year before he had 19.5 sacks. The guy's still playing at a really high level. That position just calls for a big number. And I'm sure there's gamesmanship going both ways on this. Hey, we can trade you. Hey, I'm not going to show up to training camp. I think that this stuff always just gets done. And especially with a guy like TJ Watt, you got to believe that it would pain him not to be able to be there at the start of training camp and be with those guys and get on the field and put that helmet on and start playing football again.
Crazier trades have happened, Luke Kuechly, but hopefully it gets done. Are you as confident in the Bengals from your hometown, Cincinnati, getting it done with a gentleman who you were aglow about on this very program, SHEMAR Stewart?
I think for SHEMAR's sake and the Bengals' sake, they need to get it done sooner rather than later, because I think the consensus on SHEMAR has always been ultra talented, length, speed, athletic ability. But what I think has always been kind of not the question, but what people have talked about is, hey, he's a little bit of a work in progress. We need to continue to develop him. So yeah, I have a hard time believing it doesn't get done, but he's one of those guys, in contrary to TJ could show up and play, right? I think SHEMAR is a guy that he is going to benefit greatly from having the opportunity to practice and go through drills and step through movements and put his hands on guys and work on new techniques. So I think for a situation like this, if you're SHEMAR, you want this to get done as fast as possible, because the best thing for you in your career is to be on the field, on the grass, playing, because the development side of his game is, if he takes that seriously and he gets better, he's going to be a really dangerous player lined up all over that line for the
I know,
Bengals.
but how bad is this? Exactly what you're saying. You need the reps. Everyone said this before he was drafted. And from their side, they're reportedly, they're dug in. They're dug in on the language. It doesn't seem to be budging. How troublesome is this? What does this mean for him, for his development, and for the Bengals? How bad is this?
I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is just it's from a development point of view. You know, what did you miss out on during OTAs? You know, that's a really good opportunity, a low stress environment to practice, right? And then training camp, things get a little bit more cranked up. So I think that's the biggest thing for me that sticks out. That's frustrating, probably for everybody, Bengals fans, is we need this guy to develop, and it's frustrating, I'm sure, on both sides that nothing has been done yet.
Let's end with a happy note here.
Okay.
Your bestie, Christian McCaffrey, welcomed in a beautiful, healthy, gorgeous baby girl with his wife, Olivia Culpo. I believe Colette, Annalise McCaffrey. Tell me about the group text chain. How did you come upon this information?
I got a text from our old athletic trainer, Ryan Vermeulen, that said, hey, Christian McCaffrey and Olivia had their baby. I'm so happy for them. I've given Christian a little bit of space, but he's so excited to be a dad. He's a great guy. Olivia and him are awesome. Their girl is going to be beautiful. And I'm just, you know, with all that being said, I'm so excited for Christian McCaffrey to be back and be healthy. And I've talked glowingly about Christian. He's going to have a great season. He's a new dad. It's just everything for him, I think, makes me excited. You know, he got married. He's got a beautiful little girl, and he's going to get an opportunity to do what he loves doing, and that's play football with the Niners again this year. So I think if you talk about a guy that's won the offseason, I think Christian fits in that category.
Your face sort of says it all with how happy you are for him.
It's the best. I can't wait for him to play. Number 23 with the Niners holding the football is what everybody in the NFL needs to see. So
who will be the most fun uncle of the bunch? I mean, Kittle's on the show tomorrow. Ask him, are you and Greg fighting?
It'll be one of his brothers, his true uncle. It'll be one of those guys. I think Christian has there's four of them. There's three boys, and they're a super tight-knit family. And I think, you know, Kittle would be a ton of fun. Juszczyk, Trent, you know, Purdy. Yeah. But I think the winner will be one of those brothers of Christian, because they're super tight and they got a great family. And I think we're all very excited for them.
Are you proud of me for not really going into the whole Superman of this all, since it's a new movie and it's a hot thing? Are you like a little proud of me?
Absolutely.
All right. Appreciate it. Luke Kuechly, enjoy the rest of the short off season. You'll be at training camp sweating it out over there, I'm sure. Maybe we'll see you. I appreciate it so much. And everybody remember, I want to remind everyone, because these donations from the Charlotte Observer. It's the online series and documentary. Check it out. It's Supermen, the inside story of the 2015 Carolina Panthers. You've got a premiere to attend. Hopefully Koch will be there and you can hang out. All proceeds from the Charlotte Observer event will be donated to Veterans Bridge Home. It's a charity supported and near and dear to Ron Rivera, the maestro of what this team was back in an unbelievable, unforgettable 2015. Thank you, Luke, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.